everyone, it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets. In today's video, I'm going to show you 3 different ways to use the HoneyBee Spotlight stencils. The first way is to use the masks. I took 3 of the different oval masks that come in the oval spotlight stencils and just put some washi tape on the back of them. Now you can use pixie spray, zig 2-way spray, temporary adhesive tape, whatever you want to hold these ovals into place, but I'm using them as masks because I'm going to take the images from the Kindred Stamps On Point stamp set and stamp them in there, and I wanted to have a white background for those but have a colorful rest of the background, as well as have a place for the sentiment that was also white. So I'm using a HoneyBee rectangle dot part of the stencil to mask that off. So we're going to use 2 colors of Distress Oxide. The first one we're going to do is Spun Sugar. And you'll notice here that I try to work off of the paper and then also off of the mask. I'm trying to be really good at this. I do have a tendency sometimes to just go in on the paper, and I'm trying to really remember to get a soft, nice blend and no harsh lines to either start off of the paper or off of the mask. And I'm holding the masks into place because 1, I don't want to get my fingers too inky, and 2, I wasn't sure how well the masks were actually going to stay. And right there, I went in with too heavy of a hand, which, like I said, I'm really trying to get better at. So I will eventually go back in with some Spun Sugar and go back and buff some of that shaded lilac out because it was a little bit too dark. Now I wanted this background to be like very girly and dreamy and very light. So I'm trying to go in with that light hand, and you'll see me go back now and buff over that one little piece where I put too much dark purple on. So I try, but it's kind of years of habits that I'm trying to break. When I first started using Distress inks, I would go right in on the paper and I would always have harsh lines. So trying to be a little bit better about that. So I'll just go back and forth with the 2 colors of Distress Oxide and blend them together just to make sure that they get a nice blend. And when I'm done, I will remove all of the masks, and you'll see that I have 3 nice oval shapes for the images from the Kindred Stamps set, as well as a place to put the sentiment. So we'll finish the card fronts in a little bit, but I wanted to show you the 3 techniques first. So that was technique number 1, and there's the background, and I'll put that off to the side and we'll work on technique number 2. So I'm using the oval spotlight stencil, and I taped a piece of white cardstock down to it. It's a little bit smaller than it is tall. And that is a stencil from MFT. It's a wave stencil that I'm just using upside down. So we're going to create a little bit of sand at the bottom because we're going to do an oval tropical beachy island theme. So I'm taking some antique linen Distress Oxide and the stencil and just inking some of it up. Now I thought I wanted the sand a little bit higher, and then I realized there's that harsh line there, and it probably would look like layers of sand, so I just said forget about it. I'm going to clean off my stencils because I am a messy crafter. As you'll see in this, I get it all over my nails. And I'm also taking one of those oval stencils because I want it to look like there's a sun in the sky. Taking that stencil and then using it in reverse to use that as a mask, and then once I do that, I'll tape that down. Now I saw Courtney Kreber's video today, and she gave a really good tip, and I wish I would have known this because you'll see in a minute why. So that you don't get a white line between the part that you're masking off and the part that you're inking. I should have actually moved that mask down a teeny tiny bit so some of the antique linen was showing, because the mask kind of has a lip on it no matter how thin it is, and there will always be a harsh white line between the 2 of them. I try as hard as I can to go back and cover it, but it really didn't work. It was still there. So anyway, now we're going to go and do kind of a sky ocean. At first I thought that I was going to do two different colors, like a big delineation between the two, but I really didn't. And that is tumbled glass that I'm putting on now. And you'll see I marked that oval right there. That is for the sun, and I'll go back in with them in a minute with that. So I kind of just did a little bit of the sky and just went in with a little bit darker, and I believe that is salty ocean. And then I went back over with tumbled glass to get the two to blend together. And you can see I have blue ink all over my finger because I am a super, super messy crafter. So I want to wipe off the masks as soon as I take them off because I have color all over the place, and I tried to wipe my fingers off. But you'll see right here, you can see that white line. That really didn't do anything. If I would have known, I would have moved the stencil back down a little bit and went over it, but it's okay. This is probably just a practice piece. I wanted to show you guys some of the techniques. I don't know if I will use this on a card front or not. The next thing that I do is I take that oval stencil, I think that's the smallest oval, and I place it on there, and I'm going to be using some, I believe it's squeezed lemonade. Yes, Distress Oxide possibly, with a smaller makeup brush just to go in and make a sun shape. So I probably would have done more of a circle if I had one, but I didn't. I wanted to use the spotlight stencils in different ways, and I don't have the circle one for that. So I kind of made it more of an oval and just put a little piece at the top. So what it's going to do is it's going to create a beachy scene that has a nice border around the outside of the oval once I'm all done and I take those up. And again, I'm going back in trying to get rid of that harsh white line, but I did a little bit better with the sun just because it was a smaller section. So there it is. And then the third one, I took the rectangle stencil, and I'm also taking a stamp set from Concord and Ninth, and I believe this is called Thankful. It's a smaller one, and it has the sentiment thankful and blessed. There's an acorn, and there's 2 leaves on it. And I'm just taking 3 colors of Distress ink. I had a 4th one picked, but I decided not to use that. I went with red, a yellow, and an orange. And I believe that is Rusty Hinge, Fired Brick, and then Squeezed Lemonade. I don't know why I picked fall colors because it's almost summer, but I decided that I guess I was in a fall mood for the night. And what this is going to look like is there's going to be a white border on the outside because it's the paper is a little bit larger than the stencil opening. And I wanted to stamp the images around to kind of make a frame, but then for the frame to have an outside of a white border. So you'll see when I'm all done. Another thing that you could have done is take a very large background stamp and do that around the corners. Do that in the opening, and then you'd have a very nice background stamp, but then white borders around the outside of it. So this is just kind of playing around. Again, I don't know if this will be made into a card, but I wanted to use the couple colors of Distress ink and try this out. So I had a green color picked, but I think that I just liked those 3 colors together the best. And you'll see I contaminated my Squeezed Lemonade pad there because I didn't clean off the stamp set well. And I was trying to just do, some blends of red and yellow. And that was, and I got red on the ink pad. So again, this is not a great block. It came out a little bit more of a watercolory look because, again, with it not being a great block, it's probably one of the ones that I got from I know it's one of the ones that I got from the dollar bin, but it was either Michael's or AC Moore when they were open. And it definitely is not great. It was worth the entire $1 that I paid for it, but it's not the best block to actually stamp with, but that was all I could find right now. If you had your Misty, you'd be able to do some really nice blends, and you'd be able to make sure all of the leaves got stamped, but you'll see in the final image that it's just okay. It's definitely not my best stamping. And now I'm taking the other leaf pattern and just stamping around, filling in some of the images that some of the areas where there weren't any images. And then when that's done, I will wipe off the stencil, and then you'll be able to see the pattern that forms underneath of there. Oh, here we go. And just gives just a little white border around the edges. So that's it. Okay, so now we're going to finish off the card. I'm going to use the sentiment in there for thankful and blessed. And I'm going to use the, I believe it's the quartz color from Hero Arts. And I've had this for a really, really long time, and I don't think I've ever used this color. Rose quartz maybe? I can't see what it was. Sorry, I apologize. And then there is the sentiment thankful and blessed. So I'm just going to use my Misty to stamp these images up. So the color of ink that I'm using is like a it's an orangey red, so it matches with the stamp set perfect, or the images perfectly. Just ink it up a couple times because I don't think I've ever inked up this sentiment. And there is the one front. So that's the first one that we did. And now I'm going to wipe off the stuff, and we're going to do the work on the first background that we did. I'm going to pick 3 of the images from the Kindred Stamps On Point stamp set, as well as the sentiment from that. And we're going to ink them up with the MFT Black Hybrid ink. And since I've never used it, I rub the stamps off with my fingers, and it's supposed to help get the film off of it. Oh, I didn't even do it there. But because I know I had to stamp this several times, I probably should have done that because I've never stamped it. I probably should have run my fingers over the stamps and just kind of taken off any film. But these images look really, really nice with the, with the white border around them. I didn't color this in because I didn't make it into cards, but I just wanted to show you guys what it would look like. I really wanted this to be more about the technique than the coloring, and give you guys 3 different ideas that you could do with these stencils, because they are on the more expensive side, but there's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot more that you can do with them. This is just 3 examples that I did the other night. And then there is the card front for that one. Like I said, you could leave that blank and you could have kids color it. Okay, so this one, I'm placing the mask or the stencil back over it, and we're going to put it in the Misty because, again, we're going to stamp the images, and some of them are going to go off of the stencil, so you're only going to be seeing part of it. So you're really just going to be getting a small part of the scene. I wanted that to happen because I didn't want it to look like a full scene. Like I didn't want the whole umbrella to be on there. So those are off 2 MFT images, and I think that one is just Be Claws, I think that big one was, and then the Sandcastle came from a Pure Innocence one. And we're just going to ink it up in the same black hybrid ink. I did not bother to color them in again because I don't know if I'm going to use this background, but I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like when you stamp images off of the stencil. You'll see that you only see that part image there, so it's really cool because it really only looks like a picture. So I will wipe that off, and then I'll show you guys the final product. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have comments or questions, please feel free to leave them below, and I'll see you again real soon.